I stood in the hallway of the Lake Champlain resort, my burgundy dress feeling like a costume I had no business wearing. Through the frosted glass doors, I could hear the violins swelling the laughter of 200 guests celebrating my sister's perfect day. The scent of white lilies mixed with industrial cleaner made my stomach turn. I clutched the silver-wrapped gift in my hands so tightly my knuckles went white. That's when Laya appeared. She didn't open the door to invite me in. She cracked it just wide enough for her face to appear that practiced smile I'd seen 1,000 times before. The one that never quite reached her eyes when she looked at me. "Guess you didn't make the cut, Amber," she said, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. Behind her, I could see Mom and Dad pretending to admire the ice sculpture, their shoulders tense, their eyes carefully avoiding mine. Mom whispered something I'd heard my entire life. "Amber, don't make a scene. This is Laya's day." Something inside me cracked. Not broke. Cracked. Like ice on a frozen lake, the sound echoing in places I'd kept carefully sealed for 28 years. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I looked at Laya, really looked at her, and for the first time in my life I saw her clearly. The perfect makeup couldn't hide the contempt. The white dress couldn't disguise the cruelty. I took a deep breath, feeling my lungs expand with something that felt almost like freedom. I turned and walked away. My heels clicked on the marble floor, each step more certain than the last. I placed the gift carefully on the reception table, right on top of the mountain of presents wrapped in gold and ivory. Then I kept walking past the valet, past the guests smoking on the terrace all the way to my car. 5 minutes later, the music stopped. A scream shattered the Vermont evening like breaking glass. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If you want to understand why I did what I did, why that gift contained something far more devastating than a set of monogram towels, you need to know how we got here. And if this story resonates with you, if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe, because this is just the beginning of how I took my life back. Let me take you back to where it really started. I was 7 years old the first time I realized I was invisible. It was a Tuesday in March, cold enough that the playground equipment burned your hands if you touched the metal. Mrs. Henderson's second grade class was putting on a spring concert, and I'd been practicing my piano piece for 6 weeks straight. Every single day after school, I sat at our upright Yamaha in the living room, playing the same 16 bars of Mozart until my fingers cramped and my mother yelled at me to stop because Laya was trying to watch her cartoons. The night of the concert, I wore my best dress, the navy one with white flowers that Grandma had sent for my birthday. I remember sitting backstage, my heart hammering so hard I thought everyone could hear it. When my turn came, I walked to the piano bench, adjusted it exactly the way my teacher had shown me, and placed my fingers on the keys. The auditorium lights were too bright. I couldn't see the audience clearly, just shadows and the occasional flash of a camera. I played perfectly. Not a single mistake. When I finished, I stood up and bowed the way we'd been taught. The applause sounded like ocean waves, distant and impersonal. I walked off stage, my legs shaking, and found my parents in the lobby afterward. "You did great, sweetie," Mom said, barely looking up from her phone. She was texting someone, her thumbs flying across the screen. "Did you get it on video?" I asked. "Oh." She looked embarrassed. "Honey, the battery died right before your turn. But we saw it live, and that's what matters, right?" Dad patted my shoulder. "You sounded good, Pumpkin. Real good." They'd been recording everything before my performance. I'd seen them. Mom had filmed 3 other kids, including a girl who forgot her lines and had to be prompted by the teacher. But when it came to my turn, suddenly the battery died. 2 years later, Laya joined the middle school cheerleading squad. She wasn't even that good. She kept messing up the routines at practice, crying in the car on the way home about how hard it was, how mean the other girls were. But Mom and Dad went to every single game. Dad bought a new camera, one with a better zoom lens. Mom made spirit signs and wore the school colors. They recorded everything. When Laya won the Most Improved award at the end of the season, they framed her certificate and hung it in the living room right next to the photo of their wedding day. My first place trophy from the piano competition, the regional one where I'd beaten kids from 15 different schools, went in a cardboard box in the garage next to Christmas decorations and Dad's old golf clubs. That became the pattern. Laya sparkled, I faded. Laya spoke, people listened. I spoke, people checked their phones. And the worst part was how gradual it was, how normalized. Like slowly going deaf and not realizing the world has sound until someone points it out. When I was 15, I started keeping a journal. Not because I was particularly introspective, but because I needed someone to talk to, even if that someone was just paper. I wrote about school, about my friends, about the boy I liked who didn't know I existed. Typical teenage stuff. But I also wrote about my family trying to puzzle out why I always felt like a guest in my own home. One entry dated October 12th, my sophomore year, read, "Today was picture day." Mom spent an hour doing Laya's hair, these perfect curls with the curling iron. She put makeup on her, even though Laya's only in 7th grade and the school doesn't really allow it. When I asked if she could help with my hair too, she said I looked fine and my hair is naturally straight anyway, so what's the point? I'm starting to think maybe I'm adopted. Or maybe they just wish I was. I found that journal last year when I was cleaning out my old bedroom after they asked me to move my stuff so they could turn it into a home gym for Laya. Reading those entries was like watching a drowning in slow motion. That girl, that 15-year-old version of me, she already knew. She just didn't have the language to name it yet. High school was more of the same. Laya was homecoming, princess prom queen, voted most likely to succeed. I was in National Honor Society, editor of the school newspaper, accepted to Boston University with a partial scholarship. None of it mattered. At family dinners, they asked Laya about her dress for homecoming, her date, her plans. They asked me to pass the salt. I remember my high school graduation. It was a sunny day, unseasonably hot for May in Vermont. The ceremony was held outside on the football field, and we all wore these royal blue gowns that made everyone look like oversized blueberries. When they called my name to receive my diploma, I heard Mom's voice in the crowd, but she was talking to someone. Not cheering, not whooping, just talking. I found out later she'd been on the phone with the caterer for Laya's 8th grade graduation party. That party, by the way, was bigger than my high school graduation. They rented a tent, hired a DJ, invited everyone they'd ever met. For my graduation, we went to Olive Garden. Just the 4 of us. Laya spent the entire dinner on her phone, and when the waiter brought out a free dessert because Mom had mentioned it was a celebration, Laya ate most of it while talking about her summer plans. College should have been my escape, and in some ways it was. I chose Boston University specifically because it was 5 hours away from home. Far enough that they couldn't just drop by, close enough that I couldn't be accused of abandoning the family. I threw myself into my studies, made friends, dated a little, discovered who I was when I wasn't standing in Laya's shadow. But here's the thing about family dynamics, they follow you. Like a scent you can't wash off, like a song stuck in your head. I'd call home every Sunday and they'd put me on speakerphone while they did other things. I could hear the TV in the background, the sound of dishes being washed. They'd ask how I was doing and I'd start to tell them about my internship or my classes or the research project I was excited about, and within 30 seconds someone would interrupt. "That's great, honey. Hey, did we tell you Laya made captain of the dance team?" "Mom, I'm trying to tell you about my research." "I know, sweetie, and that's wonderful, but this is really important." Laya worked so hard for this. Eventually, I stopped calling. They didn't notice for 3 weeks. I graduated from BU with honors, a double major in journalism and political science. I had a job lined up at a mid-sized newspaper in Boston, nothing glamorous, but a solid start. My parents came to the graduation and I was genuinely touched. Maybe things were changing. Maybe they were finally seeing me. Then I overheard Mom on the phone with her sister. "Oh, we're in Boston for Amber's graduation." "Yes, all the way up here. We'll be back tomorrow, thank goodness. Laya has a callback for that commercial and I don't want to miss it. You know how she is, she needs us there for moral support." They left right after the ceremony. Didn't stay for the reception, didn't meet my friends, didn't see my apartment. They had a 4-hour drive ahead of them and Laya needed them. I should have cut them off then. Looking back, that was the moment. But I didn't. Because there's this thing that happens when you grow up starving for approval. You convince yourself that the next time will be different. The next holiday, the next birthday, the next family event, they'll finally see you. They'll finally care. You become addicted to hope like it's a drug, and every small kindness is a hit that keeps you coming back. So I kept showing up. I drove home for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for Easter. I sent birthday cards and called on Mother's Day and Father's Day. I liked their Facebook posts and commented encouraging things on Laya's Instagram. I was present, available, reliable. Everything a good daughter should be. And I was completely invisible. 3 years ago, I was helping Mom pack for a move. They were downsizing to a smaller house now that Laya had moved out to pursue acting in New York. Laya, who'd lasted 6 months in college before dropping out because it was stifling her creativity. Laya, whose rent they paid, whose headshots they funded, whose life they subsidized while I worked 60-hour weeks to pay off my student loans. I was in Mom's closet sorting through boxes of old photos and memorabilia when I found the journal. It was a pretty thing, leather-bound with gilded edges, the kind you give someone for Christmas when you want them to think you put thought into it. The first entry was dated January 2nd, 1997, the year I was born. I shouldn't have read it. I knew that even as I opened it, but I was curious. I wanted to see myself through her eyes to understand how she saw me as a baby, a toddler, a child. I wanted evidence that I'd mattered once, even if I didn't anymore. The first entry read, Laya started preschool today. She cried when I left and it broke my heart. Miss Jenkins said she'll adjust soon. I already miss her so much. The house feels empty without her energy. At least Amber is an easy baby. She barely cries, just sits in her bouncer and watches the world. I flipped forward. Laya's first dance recital. She was a flower and she was so beautiful, I cried. David recorded the whole thing. Amber stayed with David's mother. She's going through a clingy phase and we didn't want her disrupting the performance. Further, Laya lost her first tooth today. The tooth fairy brought her $5. Amber was jealous, but she needs to learn that not everything is about her. And further, Laya made the honor roll. We're so proud. She's brilliant, just like David's mother always said. Amber made honor roll too, but that's expected from her. She's always been the studious one. I sat on the floor of that closet for an hour reading 17 years of my mother's thoughts. There were 347 entries about Laya. Birthday parties and school plays and heartbreaks and triumphs. There were 23 entries that mentioned me. 23. And most of them were comparisons. Amber is so independent, not like Laya who needs us. Amber doesn't mind staying home, she's content with her books. Amber was upset about something today, but she got over it. She always does. In one entry dated the day after my high school graduation, Mom wrote, I'm worried about Laya. She's been so emotional lately, crying about her boyfriend. I'm glad Amber doesn't have these problems. She makes things so much easier by being low maintenance. Low maintenance. Like a plant you forget to water because it's not dead yet. The last entry I read, dated just 6 months earlier, said Laya called today crying about her audition. She didn't get the part and she's devastated. I told her she's too talented for them anyway. I wish I could be there to hug her. Amber hasn't called in a while, but she's always fine. She doesn't need us the way Laya does. I carefully put the journal back exactly where I found it. I finished packing the boxes. I carried them down to the moving truck with Dad. We ordered pizza for dinner, and everyone talked about Laya's upcoming showcase in New York. I didn't mention the journal. I smiled and nodded and was exactly what they expected me to be. Easy. Low maintenance. Fine. That night, alone in my apartment in Boston, I opened a bottle of wine and drank the whole thing. I didn't cry. I was past crying. I just felt this enormous weight settling over me, the weight of 26 years of being unseen. Of being the designated forgetter, the emotional furniture, the child who didn't need love because she was too busy earning it through not needing it. When I asked Mom about the journal a week later, trying to sound casual, she laughed. Oh, honey, you found my old diary. That's so embarrassing. I barely remember what I wrote in there. There wasn't much about me, I said, my voice carefully neutral. Well, you were always so independent, sweetie. You didn't need all that attention. Laya was the squeaky wheel, you know? She needed more oil. But we've always loved you both the same. The same. As if love is a pie with equal slices, as if showing up is the same as being present, as if writing someone's name 23 times in 17 years is the same as writing it 347 times. But I let it go. Because that's what I did. I let things go, swallowed things down, made myself small and easy and low maintenance. Until I couldn't anymore. The phone call came on a Thursday afternoon in late September. I was at work editing a piece about municipal water systems when my phone buzzed. Laya's name flashed on the screen. We hadn't spoken in 4 months, not since she'd borrowed $500 for rent, and I later found out she'd used it for a weekend in the Hamptons. Amber. Oh my God, I have the most amazing news. Her voice was breathless, excited in that performative way she had. Noah proposed. We're getting married. Wow, I said, genuinely surprised. Congratulations. When did you meet Noah? 8 months ago at this gallery opening in Manhattan. He's incredible, Amber. He's a hedge fund manager, he has this amazing apartment in Tribeca, and he's so generous. He just bought me the most gorgeous Tiffany bracelet. Want to see a picture? She didn't wait for me to answer before sending a photo. The bracelet looked expensive, the kind of thing I'd never buy myself because I was still paying off my student loans while she'd had hers, forgiven by simply not paying them and letting them default. It's beautiful, I said. I want you to be a bridesmaid, Laya said. Obviously. I mean, you're my sister. Even though we're not super close, it would look weird if you weren't in the wedding, right? Even though we're not super close. As if that was a mutual distance, as if I'd been the one pulling away instead of running on a treadmill chasing a connection that was always just out of reach. Sure, I said. I'd be honored. Amazing. The wedding is in November. Vermont. Noah's parents have this incredible lake house near Burlington, and we're doing the whole thing there. It's going to be so romantic. Winter wonderland vibes, you know. Sounds perfect. Oh, and Amber. The bridesmaid dresses are going to be this gorgeous emerald green. They're $250 each, but totally worth it. You'll need to order yours soon because alterations take time. $250. I did the math quickly. With alterations, shoes, travel, hotel, it would cost me close to $1,000 to be in Laya's wedding. A wedding she was having less than 2 months after getting engaged. But I said yes because that's what you do. That's what I did. The next few weeks were a blur of group texts and emails and fittings. Laya had 4 bridesmaids, including her best friend from high school, 2 girls she'd met in New York, and me. The group chat was constant pinging with messages about nail colors and hair appointments and bachelorette party plans. Plans that I noticed were all scheduled for times I'd said I couldn't make due to work. Don't worry about the bachelorette, Laya texted me privately. It's really more for my New York friends anyway. You'd probably be bored. I probably would have been bored. That wasn't the point. The point was I wasn't even asked. I wasn't even given the option to decline. The bridesmaid dress didn't come in my size. At least that's what the bridal shop told me when I went for my fitting. We can order it, the consultant said, looking uncomfortable. But it might not arrive in time. And alterations on rush orders are an additional fee. I called Laya, thinking there'd been some mistake. Oh, right, she said, sounding distracted. Yeah, the designer only makes samples up to size 8. You're like a 12, right? Don't worry about it. Just wear something burgundy. Like wine-colored. That'll look fine in photos. Something burgundy. While her other bridesmaids wore matching emerald silk, I'd wear something burgundy from my own closet, standing slightly apart in every photo, visibly different. I should have said no then. I should have said, actually, Laya, I don't think this is going to work for me. But I didn't. Because I'd spent 28 years being the easy one, the one who didn't make waves, the one who accepted whatever scraps were offered and said thank you. 3 weeks before the wedding, I flew to New York for work. I was covering a story about rising rents in Brooklyn, interviewing tenants and landlords and housing advocates. On my last day, I had lunch with a source who'd backed out at the last minute, so I found myself with 2 free hours in the financial district. I ducked into a coffee shop to escape the September heat, one of those trendy places with exposed brick and succulents on every table. I was checking my email when someone said my name. Amber. Oh my God, it is you. I looked up. Sarah Chen stood there holding a cappuccino, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my entire outfit. We'd met once, maybe twice, at some work event of Laya's back when she'd had a brief stint at a marketing firm in Manhattan. Sarah, hi, I said, gesturing to the empty chair across from me. Do you have time to sit? She hesitated just for a second, something flickering across her face. Then she smiled and sat down. Sure, just for a minute. I have a meeting at 2. How are you? Are you coming to Laya's wedding? I am. I'm actually in the wedding party. Oh, another hesitation. That's nice of you. Nice of me. There was something in the way she said it, some weight I couldn't quite identify. Is everything okay? I asked. Sarah bit her lip. She looked around the coffee shop like she was checking for eavesdroppers. Then she leaned forward. Look, I don't know if I should tell you this. It's not really my business. But you seem like a genuinely good person, and I just feel like someone should say something. My stomach dropped. Say something about what? She pulled out her phone, scrolled for a moment, then turned it toward me. It was a screenshot of a group chat. Girls' night, the chat was labeled. 5 participants, including Laya. The messages were dated over the past 8 months. I started reading, and the coffee shop noise faded away until all I could hear was my own heartbeat. Drinks with Noah tonight. He's taking me to Perse. I just have to remember to look impressed. These finance guys are so easy. Update, moved into his apartment. He thinks it's romantic. I think it's free rent. He wants to meet my family. Do I have to? My sister is so awkward and my parents are just embarrassing. I scrolled up my hands, starting to shake. LOL, Noah asked what I want for my birthday. Cartier bracelet acquired. He's so sweet but so naive. A few tears about my struggling acting career, and suddenly I have his credit card. The proposal is happening soon. I've been dropping hints for weeks. The ring better be at least 3 carats or I'm going to be pissed. And then the one that made me feel like I'd been punched in the throat. Amber's driving up for the bridal shower. 6 hours. She actually thinks I want her there. It's hilarious. She's been desperate for approval her whole life. Makes her so easy to use. I might actually make her pay for her own hotel room. She won't say no. Sarah's voice cut through the ringing in my ears. I left the group chat after that. I couldn't be part of it anymore. I know I should have said something sooner, but I didn't know how, and I wasn't sure if you'd even believe me. But seeing you here, having you tell me you're still going to this wedding, I just couldn't not say anything. I couldn't speak. I just stared at the phone at my sister's words, at the casual cruelty laid out in blue and gray text bubbles. There's more, Sarah said quietly. She scrolled further. She's been documenting everything. The relationship, the engagement, her plans. Amber, I don't think she loves him. I think she sees him as a meal ticket. More messages. The house will be in my name by Christmas. His lawyer suggested a prenup, but I cried and said it hurt my feelings that he didn't trust me. He actually apologized. These rich boys are so well trained. His mother suspects something, but what's she going to do? Her golden boy is in love. Or thinks he is. Same difference. Wedding in November. Small, classy, expensive. His parents are paying for everything, obviously. I just have to play the perfect bride for a few more months, then I'm set. I sat there in that coffee shop for 2 hours after Sarah left. She'd sent me the screenshots, every single one, hundreds of messages documenting 8 months of calculated manipulation. My coffee went cold. My phone buzzed with work emails I didn't read. Outside, Manhattan moved on, millions of people rushing to appointments and meetings and lives that made sense. Mine had just imploded. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't feel like what you expect. In movies, there's anger, there's tears, there's dramatic confrontations. In real life, at least in that moment, I felt nothing. Just a vast, empty nothing, like someone had scooped out my insides and left a hollow shell. Because of course Laya saw me that way. How could she not? I'd been trained my entire life to be useful, to be easy, to not ask for too much. I was the family doormat, and everyone had been walking on me for so long they'd forgotten I was a person under their feet. But then slowly, something else seeped in to fill that hollow space. Something hot and sharp and clarifying. Rage. Not the explosive kind. Not the kind that makes you yell and throw things. The cold kind. The kind that settles in your bones and sharpens your thinking and steadies your hands. The kind that makes you dangerous because you're not acting on emotion. You're acting on clarity. I thanked Sarah before she left. I sat in that coffee shop until they started setting up for the dinner rush. Then I walked back to my hotel, opened my laptop, and started planning. I wasn't going to confront Laya. That would just give her the opportunity to lie, to manipulate, to turn it around on me. She'd cry, she'd apologize, she'd say the messages were taken out of context, or that she was just venting, or that I was being too sensitive. Mom and Dad would take her side. They always took her side. I'd be the villain for causing drama, for not letting things go, for not being easy. No. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. I spent the next week researching. I found a print shop that did high-quality crystal frame printing. I had the messages arranged chronologically, printed on high-grade paper with timestamps and dates. I picked the most damning ones, the ones that couldn't be explained away or recontexted. I wrote a note on cream-colored cardstock, 3 sentences, no signature except my initials. To Noah, I thought you should know who you're really marrying. I'm sorry I waited this long to tell you. You deserve better. I had it professionally wrapped in silver paper with white ribbon. It looked exactly like every other expensive gift on a wedding registry, indistinguishable until you opened it. The night before the wedding, I lay in my apartment in Boston staring at the ceiling. I thought about all the years of being invisible, of being the child who didn't need attention, of being the sister who existed to make Laya look better by comparison. I thought about every birthday where she blew out my candles, every Christmas where she opened my presents, every family dinner where my accomplishments were footnotes to her adventures. I thought about that journal, 347 entries to 23. I thought about being told not to make a scene. And I thought about that wedding gift sitting on my kitchen counter, wrapped and ready. I didn't sleep, but I didn't cry either. I was past crying. I was somewhere beyond anger, somewhere in a cold, clear place where everything made sense. The morning of the wedding, I put on that burgundy dress and drove 5 hours to Vermont listening to a podcast about narcissistic families and laughing at how perfectly it described mine. The Lake Champlain resort was everything you'd expect from a six-figure wedding someone else was paying for. Crystal chandeliers, marble hallways, staff in formal uniforms. The kind of place where everything was beautiful and nothing was real. I arrived at 4:47 p.m. Ceremony at 5:00. I knew the timeline perfectly because Laya had sent 17 emails about it. My hands were steady as I picked up the gift from the passenger seat. My heart was calm. I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body, a character in a story where the ending was already written. The lobby was chaos. Flower deliveries, photographers, last-minute adjustments. I slipped through unnoticed the way I'd learned to move through my family. Present but invisible. I found the gift table in the reception hall groaning under presents wrapped in gold and ivory. The moment the wedding coordinator turned away, I placed mine on top. Dead center. Impossible to miss. Then I walked to where Laya was getting ready. I could hear laughter and champagne glasses clinking behind the frosted glass door. I knocked. One of the New York bridesmaids opened it barely, concealing her surprise. "Oh, Amber, you're here. Can I come in?" She glanced back nervously. I don't know if there's really room." Laya's voice cut through. "Who is it?" "It's Amber." A pause. "Tell her to wait in the hallway. I'll come out." Even now, I didn't rate entry. I stepped back as the door closed. I waited. 1 minute. 2. I could hear them laughing inside, taking their time because my time didn't matter. When Laya finally appeared, she looked stunning. Lace and silk, flawless makeup, soft curls. She looked like a bridal magazine cover. She also looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. "I'm glad you made it," she lied. "Did you need something?" "Just wanted to say congratulations." "I left a gift." "Oh, thanks." She checked her phone. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to." Behind her, I saw Mom and Dad looking uncomfortable. Mom gave me a pained smile. "Amber, sweetie, we'll catch up at the reception. Laya needs to finish getting ready." "Not now, Amber. This isn't about you, Amber. Don't make this difficult." Laya stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Listen, I know the bridesmaid thing didn't work out. But you understand, right? You and I were just not that close. We never have been." The casual dismissal. The implication that the distance between us was natural, mutual, not something she'd carefully constructed. Then louder for Mom and Dad to hear, "Guess you didn't make the cut, Amber. But hey, you're here for the party. That's what matters, right?" Mom's whisper carried. "Amber, don't make a scene. This is Laya's day." I saw it clearly then. The three of them united. I existed to support, to accommodate, to fade. My feelings less important. My presence less valued. My existence less real. I looked at Laya one last time. Saw the calculation in her eyes, the way she was already dismissing me, already thinking about her entrance music and her perfect wedding to a man she didn't love but whose bank account she'd memorized. I didn't argue. Didn't plead. I just held her gaze for one long second, letting her see something that made her smile falter. Then I turned and walked away. My heels clicked on marble, each step more certain than the last. I walked past the gift table where my present waited like a ticking bomb, past the ceremony space filling with guests, past the melting ice sculpture of two swans. I got in my car and drove away. 5 minutes later, my phone started buzzing. Mom, then Dad. I turned it face down and kept driving. I knew the timeline. Ceremony at 5:00, cocktail hour at 5:30, reception at 6:30. Around 7:00, someone would suggest opening gifts for the photographer. A trendy social media thing. Laya would love that. The attention, the performance. And she'd pick mine first. I'd made sure of it. 15 miles away, my phone exploded. Not buzzing, exploding. I pulled over at a rest stop and looked. 43 missed calls. 28 texts. 6 voicemails. Mom, what did you do? Dad, call me right now. An unknown number. This is Victoria Hayes, Noah's mother. We need to speak immediately. And Laya progressively unhinged. What the fuck did you do, you bitch? You just ruined my life. Everyone is staring at me. You're dead to me. Dead. I listened to the voicemails. Mom shrill and panicked. This is a disaster. Laya is hysterical. We need to fix this. Dad tired. Pumpkin, I don't even know how to process this. Just call us back. Then Victoria Hayes, cool and controlled. Miss Morrison, I want to thank you for your integrity. It took considerable courage to do what you did. My son and I would appreciate if you could call me. I think there are some things you should know about how this has resolved. I sat watching the sunset paint the mountains orange and pink. My phone kept buzzing. I didn't answer. Finally, I called Victoria. She answered immediately. Miss Morrison, thank you for returning my call. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin the wedding. I just thought Noah should know. You didn't ruin anything, she said firmly. You prevented a disaster. Your gift was cruel only in its honesty. How is he? Shocked, hurt, angry, but relieved. He's been having doubts for weeks. She paused. Your sister claims the messages were fabricated, that you're jealous and mentally unstable. Your parents seem inclined to believe her. Of course they did. However, I had my attorney verify the messages. They're real. Every single one. We also discovered your sister has been using Noah's credit cards without permission. $40,000. He was unaware because she'd been intercepting the statements. I closed my eyes. I didn't know about that part. He assumed not. Miss Morrison, my son is calling off the wedding. He's already left the venue. I wanted you to hear it from me rather than your parents' inevitable attempts to blame you. Thank you. No. Thank you. You saved my son from a catastrophic mistake. I know this likely cost you your family. That's an enormous sacrifice. Cost me my family, as if I'd ever really had them. They were never mine to lose, I said. Victoria was quiet. I understand more than you know. If you need anything employment reference, legal support, please contact me. I'll text you my number. We hung up. I sat as the sky darkened and the parking lot emptied. My phone kept buzzing, but I didn't look anymore. I just breathed, feeling something that wasn't quite peace, but wasn't pain either. Justice doesn't sound like triumphant music. It sounds Keter. Like your own breathing in an empty car. Like your phone buzzing with people who suddenly care. Like the soft click of a door closing behind you. I started the engine and drove to Burlington. I checked into a hotel, a nice one, nicer than I'd usually choose. I ordered room service, drank wine that cost more than Laya's bridesmaid dress, and took a bath so hot it turned my skin pink. And I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel anything except a strange, spreading sense of freedom, like I'd been holding my breath for 28 years and finally remembered how to exhale. The messages kept coming all night. I read them once, all of them seeing the narrative form in real time. From Mom, how could you do this to your sister? On her wedding day. Do you have any idea how humiliated she is? People are taking videos. This is going to be all over social media. You've destroyed her reputation. I don't even know who you are anymore. From Dad, I'm disappointed in you, Amber. There were other ways to handle this. You could have come to us privately. You didn't have to blow up her wedding in front of 200 people. That's not the daughter I raised. The daughter you raised? I almost laughed. They hadn't raised me. They'd ignored me, forgotten me, erased me. The daughter they raised was invisible and compliant and too grateful for scraps to ever demand a full meal. But I wasn't that daughter anymore. Laya's messages were pure venom. I hope you rot in hell. You're a jealous, pathetic, bitter bitch who can't stand to see me happy. You've always hated me. You've always been jealous that Mom and Dad love me more. Well, guess what? Now they know what you really are. A vindictive psycho. Don't ever contact me again. Don't come to the house. Don't call Mom and Dad. You're not my sister. You're nothing. I saved every message. Then I blocked every number. The next morning I woke up to sunlight streaming through hotel curtains. For a moment I didn't remember where I was or what had happened. Then it all came flooding back and I braced for the weight of it, the guilt and regret and shame. It didn't come. I felt light. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for so long I'd forgotten what it felt like to stand up straight and someone had finally lifted it off my shoulders. I made coffee in the hotel room's tiny pot. I opened my laptop and booked a flight to Portland, Maine. A coastal town I'd always wanted to visit but never had time for because I was always driving to family dinners, always available for Laya's emergencies, always putting my life on hold for people who never noticed I had a life at all. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from a number I didn't recognize. This is Sarah Chen. I just saw the news on social media. I'm so sorry you had to be the one to do that. But I'm proud of you. I hope you're okay. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. I replied, thank you. I'm more than okay. I'm free. And I meant it. The weeks that followed were strange. I'd been disconnected from my family before, but it had always been temporary, always with the understanding that I'd eventually show up again, resume my role, be the easy daughter. This was different. This was permanent. Mom sent one email 3 weeks later. We need to talk about what happened. This family is broken, and I think you owe us an explanation. Laya is devastated. She had to cancel everything, and she's too embarrassed to leave the house. The whole town knows what happened. Your father and I are being asked questions at the grocery store. This is your fault, and you need to take responsibility. I read it twice. Then I wrote back one sentence. I took responsibility. That's why I'm not there anymore. I didn't hear from them again for 6 months. Meanwhile, I built a life. A real life, not the shadow existence I'd been living. I stayed in Portland, fell in love with the salt air in the lighthouse and the way the fog rolled in every morning. I got a new job at a digital magazine, better pay, better hours, better colleagues who actually knew my name. I joined a book club and a hiking group. I went on dates, some good, some terrible, all of them experiences I was having for myself rather than stories I'd tell later to people who wouldn't listen. I went to therapy. A lot of therapy. Unpacking 28 years of being invisible takes time. My therapist, Dr. Chen, no relation to Sarah, asked me in one session, "Do you feel guilty about what you did?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally. "I feel guilty that I waited so long. I feel guilty that Noah almost married her. But what I did? Telling the truth. No, I don't feel guilty about that." "What do you feel?" "Free," I said. "Sad sometimes. Angry sometimes. But mostly free." "And your family? Do you miss them?" I considered this. Did I miss the people who forgot my birthday, who put me on speakerphone and did dishes while I talked, who filled journals with someone else's life and left me as a footnote? Did I miss being the emotional furniture, reliable and invisible? I miss the idea of them, I said. I miss what I always hoped they could be. But the people they actually are? No, I don't miss them at all. 6 months after the wedding that never happened, Dad called. Not texted. Called. I stared at his name on my screen for 4 rings before I answered. "Amber." "Hi, Dad. Your mother wants to talk to you. Then she can call me herself. She's hurt, Pumpkin." "You blocked her number." "I blocked everyone's number." He sighed, and I could picture him rubbing his forehead the way he did when he was frustrated. "This family is falling apart. Laya moved back home. She can't find work because that whole thing went viral. Whenever she interviews somewhere, they Google her and find the story. Your mother is beside herself." I'm sorry to hear that, I said, and I was surprised to find I meant it. Not sorry enough to fix it, not sorry enough to take it back, but sorry in the way you're sorry when you hear someone's car broke down or their flight got canceled. Sorry in a distant, impersonal way. "Are you?" His voice had an edge. "Because from where I'm sitting, you destroyed your sister's life and haven't looked back." "I didn't destroy anything, Dad. I exposed it." "There's a difference. You humiliated her. In front of everyone. You could have handled it differently." How? I asked, genuinely curious. How should I have handled the fact that my sister was scamming someone into marriage? Should I have told you and Mom? Would you have believed me? Or would you have told me I was jealous and dramatic and to let Laya handle her own relationships? Silence. "That's what I thought," I said. "I did the only thing I could do. I told the person who needed to know. And if that embarrassed Laya, maybe she shouldn't have been doing things that couldn't survive the light of day. She's your sister. She used me, Dad. For years. And you and Mom let her. You encouraged it. You made me feel like my only value was in how useful I could be, how little space I took up, how easy I was to forget. That's not fair. It's completely fair. When's my birthday, Dad?" "What?" "My birthday." "What day is it?" "Amber, I'm not playing games." "Neither am I." "You don't know, do you?" "But I bet you know Laya's. I bet you know what her favorite restaurant is and what kind of flowers she likes and what year she graduated high school. But you don't know mine because you never bothered to learn. I was never important enough to remember." He didn't answer. The silence stretched between us, years of neglect filling the space where words should be. "I love you, Dad," I said, and I was surprised to find that was true too. "But I don't like you very much. And I don't want to be in a family where I have to earn basic respect and affection by being invisible. So that's it. You're just done with us. I'm done waiting for you to decide I'm worth seeing. If you want a relationship with me, a real one, I'm here." but I'm not going to beg for it anymore. And I'm not going to apologize for telling the truth. I hung up before he could respond. He didn't call back. Life went on. Seasons changed. I watched the leaves turn in my first New England fall outside Vermont. I celebrated my birthday alone and realized I preferred it to another dinner where everyone sang to Laya because hers was 2 days away. I spent Christmas with my book club, a mismatched group of people who'd all opted out of their families for various reasons. It was the best holiday I'd ever had. Laya's Instagram eventually resurfaced after going dark for 8 months. Her new narrative was clear: she was the victim of a jealous sister's sabotage, a good person caught in a misunderstanding, someone brave enough to rebuild after a devastating betrayal. Some people believed her. Some people always will. I didn't care. Her truth didn't have to be mine anymore. A year after the wedding that never happened, I got an email from Noah. The subject line read, "Thank you. Amber, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to reach out though, I wasn't sure if you'd want to hear from me. My mother gave me your email address and said you might appreciate knowing how things turned out. The short version, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. What you did was the hardest gift anyone's ever given me, but it was also the most valuable. You saw through something I was too close to see, and you cared enough to tell me, even though it cost you everything. I'm sorry about your family. My mother told me what happened. For what it's worth, I think you're incredibly brave. I'm working on being that brave myself. I hope you're building a good life. You deserve it. Sincerely, Noah." I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back, "Noah, thank you for reaching out. I'm glad you're okay. What Laya did wasn't your fault. Some people are very good at showing us what we want to see while hiding who they really are. I hope you're learning to trust your instincts again. As for me, I'm good. Really good. Losing my family was painful, but it was also necessary. I'm learning that sometimes the people who are supposed to love you aren't capable of it, and that's not your failure, it's theirs. I hope you find someone who loves you for real, not for what you can provide. You deserve that. Take care, Amber." His response came an hour later. "Thank you. You deserve that too." Maybe I did. Maybe I was starting to believe that. Now, 2 years after that wedding that never happened, I'm sitting on my balcony watching the ferries cross Casco Bay. The fog is rolling in soft and gray, turning the world into something dreamlike. I have a cup of coffee getting cold at my elbow. I have a book I'm actually excited to read. I have plans tonight with friends whose names I know and who know mine. I have a life that's mine. I don't hate my family. I don't even think about them most days. Sometimes I wonder if Mom ever read that journal, if she ever saw herself through my eyes. Sometimes I wonder if Dad knows my birthday yet, or if he's still pretending he was too busy to memorize such a basic fact about his daughter. Sometimes I wonder if Laya ever understood that what I did wasn't an attack, but a defense, not revenge, but escape. Mostly, though, I wonder about younger me. That 7-year-old at the piano playing perfectly for people who weren't watching. That 15-year-old writing in a journal trying to understand why she felt like a ghost in her own home. That 26-year-old finding her mother's diary and realizing she'd been erased. I wish I could go back and tell her it wasn't her fault. That she wasn't too much or too little or wrong in some fundamental way. That the problem wasn't her needing too little attention, but them paying too little. That being easy to ignore is a survival mechanism, not a personality trait. I wish I could tell her that someday she'd walk away and it would hurt and it would be worth it. But I can't go back. None of us can. All I can do is live the life that younger version of me deserved, the one where I'm seen and valued and allowed to take up space. I think about that gift sometimes, about the choice I made, and I wonder if I should feel guilty. I don't, because the biggest revenge isn't destruction. It's disappearance. It's building a life so full and so bright that you don't need their light anymore. It's walking away, not in anger but in peace, knowing that you tried everything, gave everything, and finally decided that you were worth more than their indifference. They thought I'd always be there waiting in the wings, grateful for scraps. They thought I needed them more than they needed me. They learned the hard way that furniture can walk out the door. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say isn't a scream. It's the soft click of a door closing, the sound of your footsteps, walking away, the silence that follows when you stop calling, stop trying, stop hoping they'll finally see you. Because maybe they never will, and maybe that's okay. Maybe the point isn't to make them understand. Maybe the point is to finally understand yourself. To realize you were never the problem. You were never too much or too little. You were just in the wrong room. So you build a new room, a whole new house. with doors that lock and windows that open, and space for people who actually want you there. They can keep their apologies, their explanations, their versions of truth. I have mine now. And mine says, I'm worth more than a hallway by the trash cans, more than a line in a journal, more than a role in someone else's story. I'm not the easy daughter anymore. I'm not the invisible sister. I'm not waiting for permission to exist. I'm just free. Here's what I learned. You can't set yourself on fire to keep people warm if they never noticed you were burning in the first place. You can't pour from an empty cup for people who wouldn't notice if your cup shattered. And you can't be present for people who treat you like an absence. The hardest lesson was this: sometimes love isn't enough. Not when it's one-sided. Not when it comes with conditions. Not when it requires you to be smaller so someone else can be bigger. Real love makes room. It sees you. It celebrates you. It doesn't ask you to disappear. I found that love, but I had to give it to myself first. So here's my question for you. Are you invisible in your own life? Are you the furniture people use but never see? Are you burning yourself out for people who wouldn't cross the street for you? And if the answer is yes, what are you going to do about it? Because you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be valued. You deserve to take up space without apologizing for it. And if they can't give you that, walk away. Build your own table. Create a life so beautiful they'll regret making you leave to find it. That wedding gift wasn't revenge. It was truth. And truth is the only gift worth giving, even when it breaks something. Especially when what it breaks needed to be broken. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt invisible or undervalued, drop a like and let me know in the comments. Tell me your story. Tell me how you walked away or how you're planning to. Subscribe for more stories about finding yourself after losing yourself in people who never deserved you in the first place. Your story matters. Your voice matters. You matter. And remember, the best revenge is living well. The second best is making sure they know you're living well without them.